Not long ago, I was sitting at a picnic table outside a fast food restaurant, and I took notice of a most unfair situation unfolding right before my eyes. A flock of sparrows was actively scurrying for lunch. As they scampered about, I saw one of them lagging behind the others as he was hopping instead of running. Upon looking closer, I noticed that this particular sparrow was at a disadvantage by having just one leg. As the flock spotted a bit of food, all at once they ran, flew, and did whatever they needed to do to get there before the others did. One would think that the able bodied birds would make allowances for the one that was slower to get there because of a visible disadvantage, but not so. They did not give him a head start. They did not save him a remnant of the spoils. It was every man for himself, and I should say maybe every sparrow for himself. As I thought about this little sparrow and how difficult life must be for him, I realized so it is for us at times. The world will not make allowances for our disadvantages in life, whether visible or invisible. We ought not to expect that it will. Instead, we should know that we are largely on our own, except for the care of our Heavenly Father. We are not disqualified by our disadvantages unless we decide to be, even though the resulting unfairness may make life more difficult. What we think of a disadvantage can often be the very thing that catapults us into our purpose. We make our music with the single note we have. We paint our pictures with the one brush we have until we have more to work with. God cares for us and will use our disadvantages for our good and for the benefit of others when we offer those disadvantages, whatever they may be, when we offer them to Him. Our disadvantages never disqualify us from participating in the life God has for us. In fact, our disadvantages might be the very thing that qualifies us after all. Wow. Feeling disadvantaged can often be a result of comparing ourselves with others. Now, looking at this little situation with the flock of sparrows, it was obvious to me that the struggling little sparrow, he didn't intentionally lag behind, feeling sorry for himself. He knew that would do him no good, so he kept up with the flock as best he could. The Bible tells us that God takes care of the sparrows, so of course he takes care of us. Matthew 10:29 says, "What is the price of two sparrows, one copper coin? Not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father, Heavenly Father, that is, knowing about it." It goes on to say, "So don't be afraid. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows." Now, this morning I was looking out the window with my coffee, getting ready to come and chat with you this morning. And wouldn't you know it, a little sparrow just hopped right on the railing of the deck. It was like he was looking at me. Of course, he wasn't. He was looking all over, as little sparrows do. He was likely looking for breakfast. But it was just a little bit of encouragement to get downstairs here in front of my computer and to tell you the story about that little sparrow. And when I think about our lives, sometimes we all feel like life is just a hustle to get there, to be, sometimes we feel like we're always the last in line. We're always a day late. We're the one that didn't sign up in time, or we're at the end of the line because we didn't know about it. Or by the time we get there isn't enough left for us. That scarcity mentality, the feeling of being left behind, and or nobody waiting for us. In fact, maybe sometimes we feel like they don't even care because they're all looking out for themselves, which is, we do the same thing. We all do. Sometimes we can identify with the flock of healthy birds. Sometimes we can identify with the little disadvantaged sparrow at the end. The other thing I thought about was maybe being at the end of the line is not so bad sometimes. As I said, sometimes our disadvantage can be what qualifies us, because sometimes those that are those that have the crumbs for the little birds and sparrows in the park or by the picnic table, they might throw out a bunch, especially for that last little sparrow that seems to be lagging behind. And sometimes that's the way it is for us. We might seem like we're at the end of the line, but things may turn around and it may work for our good. So the moral of this little story is we should just keep on keeping on, and we'll get there. You just keep taking one step at a time. You don't compare yourself with others. You stay on your journey, slow but sure, using whatever means you have to make a difference in the world for good, to let your light shine. And remember that little sparrow, he didn't feel sorry for himself. He just kept on going with what he had. And that's what we need to do as well. And it's never usually as bad as we think it is. I look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless. Bye bye.